Hey everyone, today we're diving into something that affects millions of people but is often misunderstood, the psychology of people who genuinely prefer being alone. And I want to be clear from the start, we're not talking about loneliness, we're talking about solitude. These are two completely different experiences. Loneliness is painful, it's unwanted isolation. But solitude? That's a choice. It's intentional. And for some people, it's where they feel most like themselves. So what's actually going on in the minds of people who would rather spend Friday night with a book than at a party? Let's find out. First, we need to understand this crucial distinction. Being alone is a state it's simply being by yourself. Loneliness is an emotional experience, a feeling of disconnection even when you're surrounded by people. Research shows that people who prefer solitude aren't avoiding others because they're afraid or because they've been hurt. They're choosing it because it genuinely feels good to them. It recharges them. It gives them clarity. Think about it this way. Some people feel drained after spending time alone and energized after being with others. But for solitude lovers, it's the exact opposite. Social interaction, even positive interaction, depletes their energy. Time alone restores it. This isn't pathological. It's not something that needs to be fixed. It's just a different way of being wired. Now, you might be thinking, oh, so we're just talking about introverts, right? Not exactly. While there's definitely overlap, they're not the same thing. Introversion is about where you get your energy. Introverts recharge through alone time. But not all introverts prefer being alone most of the time. And interestingly, not everyone who prefers solitude is an introvert. Some people are what researchers call highly sensitive persons. They process sensory information more deeply, which means crowds, noise, and constant stimulation can be genuinely overwhelming. For them, solitude isn't just pleasant, it's necessary for their nervous system to regulate. Others might have what's called a low need for affiliation. This is a personality trait where someone simply doesn't have a strong drive to form close bonds or be part of groups. They're not antisocial or afraid of people. They just don't feel that pull towards constant connection that many others do. So what are people who prefer solitude actually getting from all that alone time? Research suggests several significant benefits. First, there's enhanced creativity. When you're alone, your mind is free to wander without the influence or interruption of others. Many artists, writers, and innovators throughout history have been known for their solitary habits, not because they hated people, but because solitude gave them the mental space to create. Second, there's better self-awareness. When you spend time alone, you get to know yourself on a deeper level. You understand your own thoughts, your values, your reactions, without the noise of other people's opinions and expectations. Third, there's autonomy. Solitude lovers often report feeling more authentic when alone. They're not performing or adjusting their behavior to fit social expectations. They can just be. And finally, there's the benefit of deep focus. Without social obligations and distractions, people who prefer solitude often accomplish more of what matters to them, whether that's reading, learning a skill, or working on meaningful projects. But let's be honest, preferring solitude comes with challenges, especially in a world that often equates being alone with being lonely or somehow deficient. There's social pressure. Friends and family might worry about you. They might think you're depressed or that something's wrong. They push you to go out, to be more social, to put yourself out there, often with the best intentions, but it can feel exhausting to constantly justify your preferences. There's also professional pressure. Modern workplaces often emphasize collaboration, teamwork, open office plans. If you're someone who does your best thinking alone, these environments can feel like torture. And then there's the cultural narrative. We live in a society that celebrates extroversion. Being outgoing and social is seen as healthy and normal. Being quiet and solitary? That's often viewed with suspicion. People who prefer being alone sometimes internalize these messages and wonder if something is wrong with them. Spoiler alert, there isn't. That said, we should talk about when preferring solitude might actually be a red flag for something deeper. If someone is isolating themselves because of severe social anxiety, depression, or trauma, that's different. If being alone is accompanied by feelings of worthlessness, hopelessness, or a belief that you are unworthy of connection, that's not healthy solitude. That's isolation born from pain. The key difference is this. Healthy solitude feels nourishing. Problematic isolation feels like hiding or escaping from something that feels threatening or overwhelming. People who genuinely prefer solitude can still form meaningful connections when they choose to. They can engage socially, they just prefer it in smaller doses. If someone wants connection but can't achieve it, or is avoiding all human contact out of fear, that's when professional support might be helpful. Here's what I think society often gets wrong about people who prefer being alone. We assume they're missing out. We assume they're not living fully, that they're afraid, that they're running from something. We see solitude as a problem to be solved rather than a valid way of experiencing life. But here's the thing, solitude seekers aren't missing out on meaningful experiences. They're having them. They're just having them in ways that look different from what we're used to seeing. A quiet evening with a challenging book can be just as rich as a night out with friends. A solo hike can be just as fulfilling as a group adventure. A weekend alone working on a creative project can be just as meaningful as a social gathering. Different doesn't mean less than. It's just different. So if you're someone who prefers being alone, I want you to know, you're not broken. You're not missing some crucial piece of the human experience. You're simply wired differently. And that's not just okay, it's valuable. The world needs people who can sit in silence and think deeply, who can work independently and create beautiful things, who can be comfortable in their own company and model what that looks like. And if you're someone who doesn't understand why anyone would prefer solitude, I hope this gives you a glimpse into a different way of being. The people in your life who need more alone time aren't rejecting you, they're honoring themselves. Thanks for watching. If this resonated with you, let me know in the comments. And whether you're an extreme extrovert or someone who could happily spend weeks alone, I'll see you in the next video.